Hey, Too Many Rides here. Welcome to the channel. You're entering Phase 8. Phase 8 is the front brake. We're going to take care of the front brake on 2K. We're going to get some braking action. But then, all of a sudden, we found out there's a problem. You know what these are? That's right, they're wrenches. They're monkey wrenches. Phase 8, Episode 1, front brake. This is where a monkey wrench comes into the whole schedule. They're monkey wrenches. Let me try to tell you what has happened. A little bit of history. Way back, I bought Warp 9 wheels for a XR 600R, a 1991. Warp 9 didn't have it together, and they sent me wheels with the wrong axle diameter. A 1991 has a 15 millimeter axle. They sent me wheels to handle a 17 millimeter axle. That was the beginning of a whole series of stuff. The solution to actually make this work was to go out and buy a set of XR 650L forks. But then there's a difference on the lug placement thickness of the mounting for an XR 650L compared to an XR 600R. So I couldn't put brakes on the bike. And what I did, and what you can do, is take the bracket from a XR 650L and made it up with your good caliper. Everything was working fine, but I dreaded Phase 8 Episode 1 brakes because I know I was gonna have to change over. Now we've got K2 with that Warp 9 wheel on it, same wheel. So obviously I'm using the forks off of the K2, and I've even gone as far to put boots on. So I'm trying to put the brakes together, and I find out that the caliper doesn't line up with the rotor. 600 forks, Warp 9 wheel. I figured all I had to do was change the bracket over back to 600 and I'd be all set. We come to find out that the setup on this Warp 9 wheel is not the same as a 600, and the rotor sits in a different position. That means that I can use a stock wheel with a stock caliper and bracket. And I want to use the Warp 9 wheels. I don't want a stock rim on there. I don't want to have to build another rim or anything. It's a wrench in the schedule. So after going back and forth and trying to see what's wrong, checking part numbers, and I've got 5 or 6 front brakes available, none of them are going to work here. The easiest thing to do, put those XR 650L forks on K2. I'll be able to use what I had on the decommissioned bike, top to bottom. Just put those forks on here, put that brake setup on there, use a Warp 9 wheel. So it's a setback, it's a step back. It's a wrench in the schedule. I don't like it. I don't like it. Hey, I don't like that.
I don't like that.
I don't like it. I like to stay stock because then I can interchange parts from one bike to another. Having one-of-a-kind stuff just means trouble. Trouble. I don't like that. I don't like it. Too Many Rides here. I'm taking a step back. There's been a monkey wrench in the schedule. You're in Phase 8, Episode 1. Has to do with the front brake. Warp 9 didn't know that older 600s had a 15 millimeter axle. The difference in a 650 fork, those are about 1 1/4, the top lug. And on a XR 600, that's 1 5/8, almost 1 7/8. It's a 16th shy of it. Because the XR 600 has such nice looking fork lowers compared to the old 650 stuff, I knew that when I put the Warp 9 wheel on, I'd have to use the Warp 9 brake system because I had already modified that to fit the 91 600. However, That still doesn't work. It leaves me with two options. I could use a stock 600 wheel on the front, but I really want the Warp 9 wheel. They're deluxe, extra heavy duty spokes and clean and new looking, and I've already got it set up with the tire and all of that. Or you could have a new wheel built to the specifications necessary to fit on here. The other thing I can do is take the forks, 650 forks off of the old decommissioned 1991 and put those on 2K. And that's what I'm gonna do. It's a step back, and I'm having to get both bikes side by side. It's a setback. It's a wrench in the schedule. So I'm gonna have to change out forks and put the old 650L forks on 2K. Here we go, we're gonna do it. Okay, there's your Warp 9 wheel, IRC tire, Warp 9 rotor. There's your stock XR 2000 number 2 wheel. Okay, let's put these forks on. The XR 650L forks are what's going to get used on 2K. Okay, now we're going to have to put the wheel on. Front wheel. Making this exchange is going to get me where I need it to go as far as the rotor lining up with the caliper. So, you got your fingers crossed? Okay. Trail Tech speed sensor. Mounts to your caliper bracket or holder, or whatever you call it. This bracket bolts to the fork leg, and the disc rides right through here, and you want to have your sensor to where it'll pick up the magnet. Now, I've had this mounted on here before. This is the setup off of the old decommissioned 91. Everything was working properly, but in the process of pulling all this stuff off, my epoxy came loose. So I got to clean that up and re-epoxy it. I have marked the location it goes in, which is essentially right there. And if you were to look at this here, it corresponds with the flat side of this caliper. It's a very tight squeeze between the fork leg and the sensor. When I first got this, I had to modify it. If you look at all this shaved down area here, this angle, I had to modify that in order to get things to fit. It's a tight squeeze right there. You can't even really see it on the bike, but the edge of the fork leg is right here, riding right there. So we're going to clean this up and epoxy it, You don't get to watch me cleaning it up. I don't show that. You only see the epoxy job. Okay, we're gonna do the epoxy job, and I'm flying by the seat of my pants here. I know where it goes, but to get it to stay there is another thing. My plan, things don't always go according to plan. The plan is to use a piece of tape to help hold it in place while it sets up. This is a precarious scenario because the place where I need it to go, it doesn't really want to sit there. I've got to force it to sit there. So I'm laying down the bed it's going to sit in. That's an excessive amount there. I'm going to have to wipe some of this off. Another thing that's going to help me here is some cable ties, because like I say, it doesn't want to sit there. It would rather not. It's easily malaligned. I'm going to put tape over this to hold it. It's critical on the inside because it's so close to the rotor, but on the outside here you could have extra goop and it wouldn't make any difference. This is where it's more critical that it lines up, and it's just fishing all over the place right now. So I've got some tape here. Looks like I'm close enough. Within a 1/16 of an inch to what I was expecting. Okay, now I've realized I would need a straight edge along there to help set this the way I want it and secure it. Boy, that is set up already. Has it been 5 minutes? So I was going to goop more on the outside where it was accessible, but I think I'll just leave it to set up, and then we'll come back here in an hour and find out what happened. Pull the tape, see what happened. It's a good thing I had 5 minutes. If I tried to use that 90-second stuff, well, I might have been able to hold it in place for 90 seconds, but that's a little too quick to set up. One reason is because I have these nylon ties to help hold it. Sticking out just a hair more than I wanted to here, but that should be okay. That's pretty good. I'm gonna mix up some epoxy a little more and put some added strength around it. Okay, so I'd like to have a glob down here on the end. And on this side I have a bit of a gap where I didn't get some. There's room for the teeniest bead to go here. And there's room for quite a bit under the edge here at the back. So we'll leave it at that. And I'm going to wait till tomorrow to put this on the bike. Front brake rotor, Trailtech Vapor speed sensor. Freshly epoxied speed sensor. I'm going to clean up around the edges. That's the edge where the rotor goes by, right through here. Here's the edge that has to have clearance to fit past the lower fork leg. Okay, that's gonna do it. We're going to have brakes on 2K. By the way, while you weren't watching, I put on some nice plated nickel wheel weights. It's gonna work. What we've got here on 2K is essentially a bastard setup as far as I'm concerned. There's no changeover to XR 600Rs. And that's a drag. These fork lowers are unsightly. And the ones on 2K were so nice. Sometimes you just gotta live with it. And so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna live with it. Essentially what you've got is the whole front end off of the decommissioned 91. It's all right here in front of you. I guess someday I'll have a wheel built and get this done upright. Well, it's not done wrong, per se. It's just not my best parts. All the best parts are going on here. They're good parts. The bastard is on there. Got the front wheel on, and we have brakes. Stopping power. I consider the front end done. There's going to be a lot of wiring to do. Look at that, we got wires hanging. We got wires disconnected, and we have lots of work to do. But that's in another phase, not this phase. Phase 8, episode 1, there's only one, is complete. It's what it was supposed to be was a front forks change out kind of thing, or actually it was just supposed to be modify the brake caliper bracket so that I could use it with this setup. But none of it fits together. Amazing. So we're just having to go with the whole setup that was already on the decommissioned 1991 XR 600R.
There's a problem. You know what these are?